this. There we go. And we have over 60 individuals registered for the training this morning. Right now, we are close to 50. So that's pretty darn good.
Absolutely.
I'm asking that as you come on, if you would please mute yourself. I will try to do the muting also. And as you come in, if you would enter your name and organization into the chat, I'd really appreciate it, because with over 50 people going to be in attendance today, we are not going to be able to go around and do introductions. So just to let everybody know, I will be stepping off this call for a bit, but Kayla's going to take it, and she's going to be in it, and she'll be a host. So if she needs it, she'll be there. So without any further ado, I do want to go ahead and get started here and introduce our speaker today, Ms. Kayla Emmons. Kayla is with Metro Health. She is a 36-year-old African-American transgender woman who was born in Daytona Beach, Florida, and she has spent most of her adult life demonstrating her passion to help others and actively serving her community. In 2015, she started her career at Metro as a prevention specialist, where she developed professional skills conducting HIV and hepatitis C tests, facilitating social and support groups, planning, organizing outreach efforts, and speaking at events in the community. Following the development of the Trans Service Division in 2018, Kayla switched roles and became Metro's Trans Service Navigator, where she helps connect trans individuals in Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Pasco counties to healthcare and supportive resources. She has been instrumental in providing diversity and inclusion training to staff members in the community at large. And as of January 2021, Kayla has stepped into her newest role as the Trans Service Program Coordinator. She's been able to implement new high-risk initiatives, improving the quality of care for trans and non-binary clients. And this initiative provides a more in-depth hands-on approach with navigating all aspects of one's healthcare. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kayla, and we are so grateful. And I turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. No one has ever read the entire bio. I'm so grateful for that. Thank you so much. Can everyone see my screen?
You're good.
You can
Yes.
see your
Okay.
screen, but it's kind of hard to hear you.
Okay, that's important to know. How about now? Is it better?
Not really.
No. Okay. I'll try and cut myself up. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
A little bit better?
Okay.
Maybe. All right. So basically, our training is a diversity, equity, and inclusion training, and it kind of explains the culture of the LGBTQ plus community and how you can work best with folks of that community. It is a training that is interactive. I would need a few of you to just be brave and share your experience if you're able to. Um, it only works if you're honest and you share your experiences if you have made mistakes, if you have trouble using pronouns, if you have different struggles, please allow me to assist. This is a safe space for you to do so. Um, you probably will not offend me with any question that you have. I'll probably laugh if anything, but then I'll definitely give you the most helpful answer that I possibly can. And I hope that the sound improves and that you all are able to hear me. So first, we'll go ahead and get to know a little bit about Metro. So it's actually Metro Inclusive Health, and my name is pronounced Kyla. Um, but if you say Miss K, Kyla, doesn't matter. We've been in existence since 1992 with the mission of inclusivity by increasing access to HIV care. So keep in mind, this was a time where folks could not get the care that they needed. Present day, it was the same thing for trans individuals. So in 2016, we were able to create the Trans Services Division. At that point, we were servicing about 64 clients. 2016, it went to 900. As of 2021, we are servicing about 1,300 trans clients and non-binary folks. Um, we have over 100 programs and services. We're the second largest LGBTQ plus center in the US. We have services from primary care to yoga, behavioral health, HRT services, you name it, we have it. The goal is to have our services or have our facility be a one-stop shop for all of our clients. Like you can come in here and get all the services that you need. Our objectives today will be to develop a working understanding of the LGBTQ plus community, identify and use best practices in servicing the LGBTQ plus community, learn how to create a safe, healthy, and welcoming environment for all people. That of which is my absolute favorite because that is what we need to kind of to allow people to feel comfortable. We need to create that environment for all people to feel welcomed and to get the care that they need. We'll be breaking down intersecting identities, gender roles and stereotypes, orientations and gender identities, and actually really defining what LGBTQ plus really means. So first and foremost, we'll go over some intersectionalities, and this is a term that describes how all identities intersect. Depending on which identities we hold that are marginalized, we may experience the world a little bit differently than how others do. And this is very important in terms of meeting clients where they are and understanding that we all are different, but also the same as well. Your intersectionality can include your race, education, sexuality, your ability, age, gender, ethnicity, culture, language, class, a number of things. For myself, my intersectionalities include, and in my introduction, Avery was able to say it, I identify as a Black trans woman. So being Black, being trans, that means that I was first born as a male, a Black male. I identified as a Black male for a long time, and then I also identified as a Black gay male, all of which comes with their own set of struggles and levels of oppression as well. Also discrimination. So then moving through life, and then you now you discover that maybe I'm not a Black gay male, maybe I'm trans, maybe I'm a Black trans woman, and then now um, that added a whole nother realm um, of oppression and discrimination simply because we're Black trans women are now targeted for transphobic deaths, and we are losing our lives at a rapid rate. So I want you to just think about these different things when someone like myself come into your offices or your place of businesses, um, or think about your own intersectionalities and things that you have experienced. Just because maybe if you had a language barrier, things about your culture that may have put you at, that have shaped the way you see the world. If you have a disability, your view and your perception of things is a little bit different than someone who does not have a disability. Your education level plays a huge part in how you see the world. Is there any one person that can maybe tell me their intersectionalities and how it has changed the way that they view things? You would have to take yourself off of mute. Just one brave person, maybe.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. Is there anyone that can tell me their intersectionality and how it has helped or how it has allowed them to see the world a little bit differently than others do? Your intersectionality can include your race, education, your sexuality, your ability, your age, your gender, etc.
I'm a biracial female, so that has really affected the way that I view race in general. And I grew up with the Black side of my family, so that was very different than learning the white side of my family as an adult. So there were some biases and some perceptions that I thought about the white side of my family before I met them, and a lot of that was cleared up, just being around them and growing to love them and getting to know them. So that's really affected me in a large way.
That was a perfect example. Thank you so much for sharing. I think the more that you all do, share your information, or share your personal information, it'll help you to gain a better understanding of this training, and it'll be a lot more useful. That was beautifully said. Thank you so much for sharing that. I don't even need a second person. Thank you. All right. So LGBTQ plus. Our most commonly used letters are LGBTQ. And we'll go ahead and break this down. This section of the training normally has the most amount of questions. Please, please, please ask what you don't know. I can't tell you how important this is to ask. All right, so L is used for lesbian. Lesbian normally indicates, for women, same sex orientation. G is for gay. Normally used by men to indicate same sex orientation, but women can also use gay as well. I am trans. I also use gay myself. Bisexual. Bisexual is defined as someone who is emotionally and sexually attracted to men and women. Okay. So there are more than two genders, but we will break that down momentarily once we get over to our pansexual. Um, so keep in mind, bisexual are those that are attracted to men and women. Someone who is transgender is someone whose identity does not align with the sex that they were assigned at birth. Okay, so transgender is my absolute favorite one out of all of these. Q is for queer. So queer is used now to describe anyone's identity under the LGBTQ umbrella that may be a little bit more unique, a little bit more different. It can include their sexual orientation or their gender identity, or a combination of both. Non-binary, I want to hold for a second before we go into it. But you can just keep it in mind, put it in the back of your mind for a moment. Our second Q is questioning. Anyone that is questioning their identity or their sexuality is questioning. You can be on the fence. Maybe that one time in college something happened, but if you are questioning, there's nothing wrong. It is completely normal to question. We all do evolve. We all do, like what we like. Intersex is for I. Intersex is used to replace the word hermaphrodite. It is used to describe anyone who has ambiguous genitalia. Intersex folks, is more common than we know. Um, our A's, so we have asexual and agender. So the A, to me, when I see the A, I use it as absent. So you're asexual or agender. So someone who is asexual would be someone who is more attracted to the um, the person themselves versus their like your personality more so than your actual body parts. Um, a gender is someone who is absent from gender, like they don't subscribe to man or woman. There's someone who may be non-binary, which will define in a moment. Two spirit is from our native culture. They use two spirit to describe anyone who has the um, the appearance of a male, or excuse me, of male and female. So basically, it would be someone who is transgender in the native culture. Pansexual is someone who, like, so we have bisexual and pansexual that people normally get confused. So with pansexual, this person does not care what sex you are, what gender you are. They are attracted to the person and not the actual body part. So where someone that is bisexual, they may have a connection with man or female, emotional or sexual connection. A pansexual person can have that same emotional or sexual connection with someone who is transgender, man, male, female, non-binary, man, woman. It does not matter. They just want to get to know the actual person. They're probably okay with what you have in your pants as long as you wash it. Someone who is polyamorous. Now, polyamorous is a big one because most people think that they're in a polyamorous relationship when they actually are just cheating. The thing about polyamorous relationships is everyone has to have consent that they are in the relationship. You can have as many partners as you like, but you have to have the actual consent that you're in that relationship, and that with that many partners. We do keep the plus there because language is always evolving. There are many identities that and sexual orientations that may come about in the future as people learn themselves and how to better express that. But I want to just take a moment to see if anyone has any questions about any of the information that I just went over here. Please do not be shy. Please ask.
I do have one about the term queer, just because it has been used so negatively. Um, so I was just wondering, is that really something that is appropriate for someone that's outside of the LGBTQ community to use when describing a person, or do you just wait for them to describe whatever they are to you
Great question.
for use that?
Great question. Thank you for bringing that up. And we will go over it later in the program too. But yes, it did have a derogatory meaning, depending on your age, depending on where you grew up. Queer may not be a good word to use. However, as of lately, or more modern day, we have kind of like reclaimed our word back and given it a different meaning. So queer is okay to use. If someone feels like it is derogatory, I would save space for them, and maybe refrain from using it in their presence because it could be very triggering for them. But people that do identify as queer, they will have their own meaning of what it means for them, and it is
Thank you.
appropriate to use. It's perfectly fine to use. Great question. Any other questions? All right. Since there's no questions, we'll definitely have a test. A blank person is someone who is attracted to members of the same gender. Anybody can answer.
Lesbian, gay.
That is correct. Thank you. A blank person is attracted to members of the same gender and other genders.
Bisexual plus.
That is correct. And I like how this one is worded a lot better. Person is attracted to members of the same gender and other genders. Okay. So there's more tests. Blank is an umbrella term used when a person's gender identity does not correspond to their sex assigned at birth.
Transgender.
That is correct. My personal favorite. Thank you. A term used to describe when a person's gender identity does align with their sex assigned at birth. Now, this is a bonus because we haven't gone over this.
Cisgender.
Cisgender.
Okay, all right. Some people know it. Very good. Thank you all. Blank is an umbrella term for people who do not fit male/female binary. They may experience gender fluidly, comprehensively, or be removed from gender entirely.
Non-binary.
Non-binary.
That is correct. Avery, I'm going to have to get some gold medals or something. You all are like doing really well. Thank you so much for everyone that's participating. All right. So many of you did say cisgender. So that lets me know that you are a little bit more progressive than a lot of people. So the term for someone that has gender identity that does align with their sex assigned at birth is cisgender. Cisgender is used to create equitable language when we talk about the trans community. So where I grew up, people would oftentimes say, well, I know you're a trans girl, but she's a real girl, right? And you don't want to say that, okay? You want to use equitable language. You want to say a cisgender woman, a transgender woman, okay? Cis male, trans male, all right? It just kind of makes it to where the genders are equal, opposed to cis being or trans being something that's completely isolated from the rest of the world, and then and then you have the normal people. So you want to use cisgender instead. Okay. Any questions on cisgender? It may take a lot of practice when using these different terms, but trust me, it is possible. Before joining this training, before my position here at Metro, I didn't use this language, and I'm a part of the community, so it is a definitely a learning curve that needs to happen. So be patient with yourself and learning all these different terms because it is a lot of information at once. So non-binary. Non-binary is an umbrella term for those who do not fit male, female, binary. They may identify as a combination of male and female, or feel removed from gender entirely, or identify as agender. Okay, so the thing about non-binary folks is you may wake up today and want to wear a dress. I may wake up tomorrow and want to wear pants, and that's perfectly fine. You're able to live how you feel most comfortable. I think that non-binary folks are more woke than anything. Um, India Moore, here's some like live pictures of folks that are non-binary. India Moore is from the TV show Pose. On the show, she does play a trans woman, but in her life, she identifies as non-binary. Jonathan Van Ness from Queer Eye is also here as representation. Sam Smith, and then you also have Miley Cyrus, but newly added to our list is Demi Lovato, also identifies as non-binary. Queer, so we did have mention of it being derogatory. Um, but the biggest thing I want you to take from queer is that it is a term for both your gender and sexual orientation. So if a person is using the word queer, they can define what that means for them. It can include both or just one of those things, but it's special to them and their identity. Um, it is derogatory still for some people. So if someone does mention that it is derogatory for them, please honor that and allow them, that space to and be okay with that. But if someone tells you that I identify as queer, it is not derogatory for them to use it. And as a cisgender person, you are more than welcome to use the word if you know how to use it properly. All right. Any questions? And in the future, if you have questions, you can just simply speak out. I can't see who's in the room or if there's hands raised or anything. Um, so pronouns are huge. Even in inclusive spaces like Metro, we've had issues with pronouns. But I want to try to take a moment to um, provide some insight on how you can use pronouns and be a little bit better with it. So he, him, his, she, her, hers are our most commonly used pronouns. Most people don't even know what pronouns are. Uh, so, but pronouns are what we use when referring to a person. He drove to a supermarket. I waved at him in the parking lot. The yellow truck was his. She drove to a supermarket. I waved at her in the parking lot. The yellow truck was hers. Now, they, them, theirs is used the same way. They drove to the supermarket. I waved at them in the parking lot. The yellow truck was theirs. The problem that we've had in the past is that people feel that they, were taught a long time ago that they equals plural and they cannot use they, them pronouns for a single person. We do it all the time. We just don't realize that we do it. Um, the example that I like to use is if we go to a restaurant, right, and you see a phone left, you would say someone left their phone here. You're not assuming that a truckload of people left one cell phone. You're saying someone left a cell phone and you don't know their gender. Or if someone calls me and I don't know who it is, they keep calling my phone. I don't know who this is that's calling me. I'm not saying a whole call center of people is calling me. I'm saying one person is calling my phone and I don't know their gender. Misgendering people is really, 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 really huge. Keep in mind that folks that are non-binary typically will use they, them pronouns. If you misgender someone who is non-binary or someone who uses they, them pronouns, um, it can really, send someone in a downward spiral. Typically, people that use he, him, or she, her will not be offended if you use they, them. But someone that uses they, them will be offended if you use he or she, unless they use a combination of both. So I'll say that one more time. A person that uses he, him, or she, her pronouns will not be offended, typically, if you use they, them to refer to them. But someone who uses they, them pronouns will be offended if you use he, she when referring to them.
Question.
Yes.
Well, I've had a situation in that when it was a little confusing because I knew this person was gay, but I knew they also identified more like male.
Okay.
However, I was correct. I just kept saying, thought I was doing it right. I was like thinking they wanted to be a he or him, but it was really weird because I just didn't even, I was like, okay, you're identifying as, you kept saying, no, I'm a she. You keep
Okay.
saying he. So I was like, okay, so I guess you can't assume because they want to be male, identified as male based on the attire, had the little, hair on the face and, the male clothing, but I knew it was a woman. However, I felt very uncomfortable with these pronouns. Basically, this was a pronoun issue for sure.
I hear you. And here's the thing though. You're right. You cannot assume. So just because a person wears, a little bit, more like butch clothing, we'll say, or a person um to you appears to look more masculine. Some folks in gold is not to transition from one gender to the next. Some people don't mind being right in that middle. Some people don't mind being more of a butch woman, but they still identify as a woman. So you definitely have to honor what they're asking. And I hear you. You want it to be maybe a step ahead of it and go ahead and honor them in that way and say, I get it, he, him. But if they don't use those pronouns, then it doesn't work. You want to
Right.
make sure that that person uses she or he, him, his before actually using it.
Right.
And the way to combat that is to simply ask.
Right.
Okay, I want to honor you. I'm not a terrible person. I want to be, up with the people. What are your pronouns?
Right. Got you. Now I understand that. Yep.
Because and really that like if I didn't tell you my name, you can't assume my name, right?
Right.
Almost like you can't assume someone's sexual orientation or their gender identity. So, and I think a lot of us get afraid when we make mistakes because we want to be good people. We're not horrible people. I can assure you, if you were a horrible person, you would not be a part of this training because you want to learn, you want to get the information. But I think it's more so if it's different for everybody. You might meet someone else who does have that more butch, appearance and want to use he, him pronouns. So I think it's just a matter of being able to ask, hey, I see you. My pronouns are she, her. What are yours? Okay. And allow that person to tell you what their pronouns are, and then you can properly address them. Great question. I mean, great comment, great feedback, everything. Anybody else have a similar situation?
I do. My only child in high school came out as transgender, so it was hard to go along with pronouns that we used for 17 years. And then midway through, it's not hard to support your child, not at all. And, I really, the tattoos bother me more than anything else because they're permanent. But the pronouns has just been because you see your child, particularly for 17 years, this infant you raised as one way. And so it's just, you catch yourself making mistakes, but it really, it's a learning curve. And I think that, you know, as long as you make the effort and, you know, you respect where the person's coming from, that we all make mistakes. And so it's just trying
Yes.
to, you know, respect the person and, you know, just understand how they want, you know, the pronouns they use, all of it.
Mom, I want to just commend you for respecting your child and allowing them to be them. Here's the thing, like people of the LGBTQ plus community, they just want to be accepted and loved like anybody else. I mean, the this training is good for your employee or your excuse me, your employer where you work, but this training can also be used in your everyday lives at home as well with your own families.
Thank
Well, I can definitely relate. I'm a grandmother of 9, and 6 of my grandchildren are gay, lesbian, transgender, you name it. So I'm always confused about sometimes how I'm supposed to address each and me be able to meet each one's individual needs. You know, where some are, you know, I go to the parades with, the other ones are more
Yes, Grandma.
conservative. So it's an experience that I wouldn't give up for anything.
I love that. You know, and I can say even for my own life, being completely transparent, my mom has more of an issue than my grandmother. My grandmother got it quickly. My grandmother's in her 80s, and she's like, "Oh, this is, you know, my mother. This is Benita's oldest child." She took gender right out of it. People say, "I thought Benita. I thought she had one male child." It's like, well, no, this her oldest right here. I think it's a matter of that respect that we mentioned earlier, just allowing people to be who they are. It's huge. It's really huge. So I commend all of the parents of folks that are trans or non-binary. Continue to support your children. I think that my mom wanted to help, but did not have the language to help, which is probably why I'm in the work that I'm in right now.
Well,
Providing language to folks.
it was easy for me because at the time when my child was in high school, we had gotten a divorce, that, you know, their dad and I, and so we had already done counseling and stuff. So the counselor kind of sat us down saying, "We've got big news," and I was like, "Oh, just that?" I mean, I was expecting something like, you know, you're sucking as a single parent, or, you know, I want to kill myself because, and then, you know, that was the news, like, "Oh, well, your child was gonna," and I was like, "Oh, well, just that," you know, like there were so many other scenarios my mind had gone to. And, you know, because I think as a parent, you're like, you don't want your child to become addicted to drugs or get arrested. You know, there's all these horrible things. And I felt relief in a way because I'm like, oh, okay, you know, we can do this we can do. So.
Absolutely. And I do want to take a moment to say too, with the youth, they are very progressive right now. Like they know they're I did a training at YMCA. I could have literally set my entire laptop down and just then they could have taught me. They're very progressive and they know exactly who they are most times. If you witness your child not participating, sleeping, that could be a sign of them being depressed and not wanting to, or they're not showering, things like that. You want to make sure that you are very aware of these things because our youth will definitely revert to that if they're not feeling seen or heard. So definitely keep that in mind. But it sounds like a lot of you all are on it. And I want to commend you all for just being able to allow your creating that safe and healthy space and or that environment for your children to be able to talk to you. Therapy is very important, and I'll talk about that too a little bit later in our program as well in terms of like our transition. So
I have a quick question.
yes,
How do I defend, explain they, them, theirs? Because I think as far as pronouns go, less educated or woke or however you want to put it, people that I come across are in my life, and my daughter's in middle school, and I, her little tribe, everybody identifies mostly non-binary, but there's a lot of different dynamics and just it's beautiful, and I want to be able to have, so to speak, like a quick little elevator pitch for people that are trying to shut that down. And if you could give me, you know, something that I can feel good about saying and know that I'm saying it properly, I would really appreciate that, because I'm tired of people saying, oh, I don't want to call them or they, or that's weird, and it's really frustrating me, and I want some ammo. Help me out.
I hear you. I would simply tell people that their identity is valid, even if it's weird to you. Their identity is valid, even if it's weird to you. We've been using they, them for in singular terms for a very long time. I would simply use the example that I provided, one of them at least, in terms if you leave a cell phone in a restaurant, someone left their cell phone. They keep calling my phone. I don't know who it is. We've used these pronouns in singular terms. We just don't realize that we do it. We do it naturally, and we don't realize that we do it. But the biggest thing is, Mom, their identity is still valid, even if you don't agree with it. And also, too, you can think about it in a way of like doctors and sergeants. They go to school all this time, and they want their pronouns to be used, right? Doctor so and so, they want their titles to be used. I've lived a long time, and I know that you can definitely call me she if I'm asking you to call me she. I just out of respect. Out of respect, I call a doctor a doctor. I'm asking you to respect me and call me she. I hope that that's helpful for you. I want you to just think about it in terms of like, you know, this is who they are, and that's valid in itself.
Yeah, I think the main thing that I'm running into is that it's weird to say they or them. So I definitely like we've been using this for a long time, and this is an example. So I thank you very much.
Absolutely. And then you can also we'll go over it a little bit later in the training, but you can also let them know that they can practice using gender neutral language, or they can just say their name if they have an issue with using they them. But we'll
Yeah,
we'll, we'll get into that.
I
Um,
found that first for me that it almost felt like I was being disrespectful,
oh,
because of the way, that we grew up with using he, she, to learn to use the terms that, like you said, we often use and have always used, but in a
uh-huh.
different context. So it was, for me learning that it's not disrespectful. And I just simply tell people that it's not about you, it's about my grandchildren, and they get one shot at this, and by darn, they're going to be happy.
Wow. It takes a grandmother to put it. It takes a grandmother. But
Yes.
no, I totally agree, and I think yeah, most times we don't want to be offensive, so we overthink things. But no, you're definitely not being disrespectful, especially if I'm asking you to use they them. And you're right, Grandma. It's not about them. It's about the individual. It's not about the other person who don't understand it, or who's chosen to have a closed mind. Anybody else? Great questions, great conversations, folks. I love it. Anybody else? All right. So we'll move forward. So this slide here is showing the protection laws in different states. In the darker green, they have high protection laws for folks in the LGBTQ plus community. Now, you have the lighter green, who's medium, and then we have Florida, who is low. So we're not the worst, but we're certainly not the best. And this side, this is just a trigger warning for folks. As I said earlier, I identify as a Black trans woman, and I had a friend. Because these laws are not where they need to be, people are able to murder trans women of color and get away with it. 6 years ago, I met a woman. Her name was India Clark. She's from Tampa. She was killed, and the person was able to get off by simply saying that he did not know that she was trans. And that's disturbing for me, because we meet people, I meet people every day. I disclose my trans identity to folks every day. If there's 60 people in this training, I have came out to 60 people just in this morning. So it's very disheartening to know that if something were to happen, that I am not protected. Right now, I live in like a little LGBTQ plus bubble. All of my work that I do is in LGBTQ plus communities. But when we go to different places, that's not always the case. People do not always feel protected and feel safe. So if you're ever servicing someone, or if you're ever helping someone, please keep in mind that they may not always feel as protected as we think. Because of those different marginalized identities, we do see the world a lot differently than others do. And sometimes when I walk into different spaces, I don't always feel safe. I kind of have to prep my mind to even be in certain spaces. So I want you just to think about like where we are and where how far we have to go as a country, really. And it's a long way to go. But I think that keep in mind that meet clients where they are, because not all the time do we feel safe to be in certain areas. I'm For me, how I combat this is if I go in the lobby here at Metro, if I go in the lobby and I'm seeing someone that their legs are going, they're maybe pacing back and forth, or they look afraid, or they look something like something may be wrong. I make it my business to say, "Good morning, hi, how are you?" Because what happens is we get so busy in our everyday jobs that we walk past people and we don't take a moment to say, "Hi, how are you?" That person could feel like, no one even saw me today. That person could feel like, let me just leave because no one even has acknowledged me. So you acknowledging a person could be the matter of them spiraling in a downward, going in a downward spiral, or them getting the help that they need. Because not all the time do we feel safe in different spaces. Um, but not to definitely a trigger warning, but I wanted to just make sure that you all understood exactly how I felt. I would not be myself if I did not bring up the things that I face as a trans woman of color, and being in different spaces, um, and those protection laws connected to it. But this is some good information here. Just take a moment to look. It has changed just a little bit, and we have updated some slides. Um, but I don't have the authorization to present that as of yet to our, different folks that we work with. But um, it's not much has changed. We'll say that. I want to go over the coming out process. So understanding that coming out is not desired or an option for some, due to these anti-discrimination laws um, that are not really in place. Like coming out could put someone's well-being in jeopardy. So we have our authentic selves, right? Which is in the middle, and then we all have our different friends, our family, our hobbies, our travel. But keep in mind, if you come out to some people or you come out to the wrong person, you could potentially lose all of these different things. Imagine going to a church for 20 years and then you come out to someone and it gets in the wrong hands, and now you're no longer welcome to that church. Imagine having a friendship for over 20 years. They find out that your sexual orientation has changed, or they find out that your gender identity is different, and they no longer want to be friends with you. I think the takeaway from me is that if someone comes out to you, you must be a very special person, because it takes us a lot of courage to be able to come out to folks. Since I do it for a living, I'm a little bit more comfortable. But for someone who doesn't live the same life that I do, it can be very um, scary to come out. It can be very it can put someone's well-being in jeopardy. So keep in mind that if someone does come out to you, you are a very special person. I will go over um, you know, how to respond if someone does come out to you. But keep in mind that we all are striving to be our authentic selves. And for some, when they do come out, they may lose these things. Think about a career. You could be a CEO of a company and then you come out as trans, and then now all of a sudden you're not capable of doing the job. I had a person in one of our trans groups that was able to combat that because they were the CEO, and they were able to implement different rules. But what happens if you're just a normal specialist, or what happens if you don't have that type of pull to implement it into policies, that protection? You could lose all that you have just because you're being your authentic self. Any questions or comments so far? All right. So what does it mean what does it mean to transition? So a person can transition. There's three aspects to a transition, right? Um, there's no order in how you have to do this, um, but the three aspects are socially, medically, and then legally. So when a person is transitioning socially, you'll see their clothing change, their hairstyles might change. They may begin to ask you to use pronouns that feel more affirming to them. You A lot of times I heard someone say the tattoos um, of their child, their 17-year-old child. So yeah, you may see folks begin to you know come into their authentic self. You will see people, just be a lot more comfortable during their social transition. It's not easy, and because it is not easy here in Metro, when folks go through their social transition, we do recommend that they see a therapist. Okay, when you see a therapist, you're able to get something called a letter of support. The letter of support can be used to help you then transition medically. When you transition medically, that's when folks begin to get gender affirming surgeries. They may take the medications, which is their HRT, hormone replacement therapy. Now, let me just make it very clear that a person does not have to have any surgeries in order to be considered transgender. I've met people that say, well, if she don't have breasts, then she's not transgender, and that's absolutely incorrect. Because if a young woman has not developed their breasts yet, does that make her not a young woman? Absolutely not. Being trans is in your heart and in your mind. We use medications to help us better function in society, and to help our outsides match how we feel on the inside. But you don't have to have any surgeries or take any medications for that matter if you don't want to be identified as trans. All right. We also have a legal transition. When you transition legal, when you excuse me, when you yeah, when you transition legally, you may begin to get your birth certificate change, your driver's license change, social security. You don't get a new number, unfortunately, but you will just have your name to match your new social. As you'll have your social to match your new name. Um, Legally, transitioning has been most rewarding working here. When folks are able to look at their ID and see their name and or gender marker change on their ID, people are extremely excited about that. I got my name changed in 2015, and for those individuals that have grandchildren or children that are transitioning, and you are maybe going to have to get a legal transition soon, um, Hillsborough and Pinellas County have been absolutely phenomenal. When I got mine in 2015, I had no issues. The judge actually saved my name. My last name was E, or it is E at the. I got to get married, but my last name was E, and he saved me. The judge saved me for the last person. So I'm like, why am I being called last? And we've gone through T and R and S and Z. Why am I still here? My last name is E. So I quickly realized that he saved me for the end so that I would not be embarrassed. And he explained it. He said, I get it. You want your name to match, your identity and how you function in society. And I'm going to grant you your name change. And he did it, and it was a fast and easy process. And I am forever grateful of that. And so it gives me great pleasure when I'm able to refer people to the courthouse to get their name change done. It could take about 3 months, depending on your caseworker. I have seen it done in as early as like a month and a half. But it is a fairly easy process. And if you are in Hillsborough County, you actually can get the court cost waived. All right, what to remember? Avoid assumptions. So someone already brought this up. Remember that it is impossible to know someone's gender or orientation by looking at them. You want to integrate neutral language. So try referring to strangers as they more regularly. So then when you have a situation where someone uses they, them pronouns, you're not a deer with, in headlights. You're able to use it comfortably because you use it for strangers, people you don't know. Instead of asking someone if they have a boyfriend or girlfriend, you can say partner or significant other. To me, this is so huge, especially in your workplaces, because you don't want that awkward feeling when you ask someone if they're pregnant or how many months they are and they're not pregnant. It can be really, really, really uncomfortable. So ask people, how is your partner? How is your significant other? That way, they don't have to say, no, I'm sorry, I actually have a wife. You want to keep learning. People and culture are always evolving. Continue to seek new information, new community events, and be open. I can't tell you how much being open or how far that'll take you. Just because we don't understand something right away, it doesn't mean that it's not valid for that person. It doesn't mean that it's weird, doesn't mean that it's wrong. It doesn't mean any of that. If you're open to it, you're able to have a better understanding because you're more accepting of the information. Any questions on this information? All right. What if I can't tell someone's gender? If you're unsure, focus on what you do know about showing respect. Okay. So you can use gender neutral language. This person, they, etc. Hello there, welcome. This guest would like a bottle of water. They ask for a sign in sheet. Defer to using their name if that's not, if you can't do that. You can defer to using their name if you know it. And then, if necessary, politely ask their pronouns. I don't know anyone that's a part of the LGBTQ plus community that will be offended if you ask and you're coming from a genuine place. The problem is we have so many folks that are malicious when they ask what your gender or what your pronouns are. And that's where um, you get the negative feedback. If you are being genuine in your approach, pull people to the side. Hey, my name is Kyla, my pronouns are she, her. What are yours? Or just simply ask, what pronouns do you use? How can I address you? That way, folks have an opportunity to tell you how they would like to be addressed, versus you assuming how they want to be addressed. Okay? Questions, comments? All right, so we have a quick video here. The video is so important to this training, and I want you all uh, to really listen to it because I will ask a few questions. I want to hear what maybe stuck out to you for the video. So please listen. I will call in about 3 people.
I I go by she, her, and hers pronouns. That's just how it's been for me.
My pronoun is he, and I present as a he. Some trans people might look like me and present as a she.
Recently, I've come across they, and I like they. So you can refer to me either as she or they.
I like to be referred to as many things. It's really about what sort of feels good to our ears when we hear it.
Pronouns are important because they indicate a degree of respect. Who doesn't want to be respected?
For a long time, a lot of people have felt like that they don't fit into the mold of primarily he or primarily she, or maybe they feel they're a blend of both and that there's not really a word for that.
I found out about gender non-specific pronouns, Z and here, and I thought that was funny. That makes people trip up, because really, technically, I'm not a she. I'm not a he either.
There are some situations where we really put way too much stock into whether or not somebody is a man or a woman. There's a lot of situations that we just don't need to necessarily have gendered language. If you're unsure about somebody's pronoun, pull them aside and ask, hey, what are your pronouns?
It's not even preferred pronoun because it is their pronoun.
So some people go by he, some people go by she, some people actually use the pronoun they.
You can avoid mistakes by just saying them, theirs, they.
Their gender is still valid regardless of whether or not you understand it.
Misgendering a person by using an incorrect pronoun is an act of disrespect.
Everybody else in the world out there can say, I am, and they identify themselves, and everybody believes them. But when I say I am, I don't know why people just don't believe us.
Share with me maybe one thing that stuck out to them that they took away from the video.
I loved how he said that it's whatever their ears want to hear.
Yes.
I thought that was nice.
Yeah, what feels good to our ears. Absolutely. Anybody else?
I was gonna say it feels good to see the different generations of individuals accepting and embracing, and some discovering new verbiage, because like maybe for a long time they never saw themselves as a he or a she, but there was nothing else out there to really identify as. And now having something where you're like, they like that fits. So that was really nice to see.
I've never ever heard that that explained that way. You're the first person to pull that out. Very nice. Anybody else?
This is TV. I just wanted to say, I think it was Heather earlier that said she was looking for something to say, like an elevator speech, to rebut when people don't want to try or put in the effort to identify someone's pronouns properly. And I like that the video explained that it's just about respect. And someone said like, oh, you've been calling me this name this whole time. Why can't you just change it to this pronoun, or not change it, but just start using it? And I think that's something that sticks with me too, because I know everyone knows the name like Ashley and John or whatever, but every time I meet someone, they struggle with my actual name. So trying to help someone identify the proper pronoun shouldn't be that hard when you know all of those words in your regular vocabulary. Why can't you just start using them? So I like just breaking it down to, it's just about respect. So please just use what I'm telling you to use or asking you to.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm old school. I go by looks a lot. That's just the way I was brought up. So I like being able to comfortably ask and be respectful and say, how do you want to be identified?
Yeah.
Because again, it's not about what I think, it's about respecting what that person's identity is. And I like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love the feedback from you all. I really do. If there's anyone else that wants to share, please do.
I would like to.
Okay.
Jasmine Burke here. Just watching that video, since a roller coaster of emotions. Being that about like what I graduated in 2008 from Jefferson, and I do recognize you. Um, and between the years of 2004 and 8, a lot of things in our Hillsborough County schools transpired. I had a really close friend. He was born a male, and he came to school with his hair done and 2 pigtails and a skirt. And man, he got in so much trouble. He still identifies as he, but it was the fact that he just got in so much trouble that day. And even with you, I don't know, you went to Jefferson as well too, I believe, for a little bit. Just to see how that was not tolerated at all, just only 10 to 15 years ago, and to see how we've grown as a society to understand what's going on in society and how to approach those things, and how comfortable everyone is getting. It really touches me because I was there. It was right when that movement started. So
Absolutely.
that's
And
pretty cool.
and then think about too what that could have done for that person. You know what I mean? Like, even if that person maybe was on the fence or questioning or wanted to transition, and then you get in so much trouble. You make newspapers. I mean, you get in so much trouble. Then
Right.
what do? You go right back into that closet, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think that some things have changed, but I think we have a long way to go. But I think
Mm-hmm.
that for me, in my purpose in my work, I oftentimes have to just take that professionalism hat off and just be human, right?
Right.
And just let people be who they are and meet them
Mm-hmm.
where they are. So I think that's a huge part of it, folks. We're going to meet people that's different from us.
Mm-hmm.
We're
And it's
going
it's
to.
super cool to I would rather interact with people who are happy with themselves
Yes.
and not, going back into their closet or back under a shell. Like I would rather deal with who you want to be or who you are, really.
And the thing is, we oftentimes cannot, because of it can
Right.
be our circumstances, it can be environmental, it can be whatever, whatever it is, whatever's it can be unsafe, it can be a number of
Mm-hmm.
things. But I think that with us developing the learning that we are, the teachings that we have now, I think it's just a matter of making it more comfortable for folks to genuinely be who they are.
Right.
And when you create that environment, you will get a number of people that won't mind being their true selves around you. And it'll be a lot different, with that person versus their closeted selves. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you so much for bringing that
Thank
up.
you.
Bringing real life scenarios and things that we've seen and gone through is very
Mm-hmm.
important for our trainings,
Yes.
because we
I
all.
have problems with my youngest grandson just came out that he's bi, and his father will say things to me like, stop encouraging him. Well, I'm not. I'm supporting him in
Yes.
whatever his decisions are. His mother says he's going to hell. No, he's not. He can still be Christian and be gay. He can whatever he wants. She says not in the church that he goes to. Then change churches. He's not
Absolutely.
going to change. Then you need to change the church that you're going to, because
Yes.
he has a right to be whatever he wants to be. And it's not encouraging, it's being supportive. And I really have a problem sometimes with my family understanding that.
I um I
Well,
want to
I
be
have
very
something to
selective
add
in
to
what I
that,
say.
Kathy.
Go ahead.
Well, because the map that you put up, I'm from the Northeast. My only child still lives in Northeast, and there's a reason why our families are the way they are in terms of being open and accepting. But we actually were in South Carolina when my child came out, in the Bible Belt, like that band right there, that's not open and accepting. And you put something up at the end about the bathroom laws, and I feel like generationally, we have come a long way from my generation, because I'm in my 50s, but honestly, we have we haven't, and we have so much more progress we need to do, because there shouldn't be a bathroom issue, there shouldn't be a religion issue, there's so much work still to do. But I do think when you hold the map up against the Bible Belt in why, it's telling and it's unfortunate, but I'm just happy and proud that I'm a Yankee, that my child's a Yankee, and what that symbolizes on the map in terms of being open and accepting, which culture, I think that's, I don't know, at least for me being from New England, that's a big part of who we are.
Right. And I'm hillbilly and so proud to be redneck. Can't help it. It's just, that's the way it is.
But what does
So
that
why
mean?
can't my grandchildren be proud of who they are?
Yeah,
I had, right. And I've had my shot at life, for good, bad, whatever I made out of it. My grandchildren had the same right, and I just want them to be happy, be accepted. And like you said, they shouldn't be persecuted for being who they are, and that's just the way it is.
Absolutely.
How do we become better allies? So I'm the vice principal of the PTSA at my daughter's middle school. And as I was saying, many of the students they're exploring. Yes, they might be in 6th grade, but that doesn't mean that their feelings are any less valid. It doesn't mean that they should be told that, oh, it's just a phase. And I go through that so much with other parents. I'm like, okay, let's say it is a phase. Isn't it a respectable phase? Like, can't we, embrace them in this exploration? We're all going through a sexual exploration in middle school, and it's difficult for people to talk about children that young. And, I continue to bring up, because the students and my daughter's friends keep bringing up to me, we want a gender neutral bathroom. We do not feel safe in the bathroom. The bathroom is scary for us. We hold it all day. Like, it's heartbreaking to me, because when I bring it up, and I bring it up at every meeting, just at the end, I'm like, and I'm bringing up the gender neutral bathroom again. And I don't know how to move that forward other than to continue that talk and what to do. And it feels very sad to me. And I don't know how I can support that movement better. I'm sure it's laws and there's all kinds of, caveats to it, but how can I better support that? How can I make them listen?
I think implementing or asking them about trainings like this, and I'm not saying it just because I'm doing the trainings. I'm saying it because people don't really understand the effect that that it has on children when they don't feel safe in different spaces. I can tell you, I had the same experience as an adult. When I crossed over before working in like the corporate world, I only did drag shows to support myself, because that was where I felt comfortable, right? I got a job here in Tampa. I moved to Tampa, got a job here, and then I worked at a call center, and I literally would I would not use the restroom until lunchtime, out of fear of going to the restroom. And mentally, I could not even process what I was supposed to learn because I had to use the restroom so bad. When I decided to go to the restroom, people followed me to see how I was using the restroom, what restroom I was using, and it was horrible. I think that if you can speak to whomever's in charge, or whomever, ask them, would it be appropriate to have DEI trainings or sensitivity trainings, so they can understand from a different perspective where you're coming from. It's not just about a bathroom, it's about a person's mental health. So
Absolutely. I'm so sorry that happened to you. And I feel the same way about, these kids. It's hard enough to be in middle school and then going through all the changes, and it's nice that it's more open, but we still have a long way to go.
A long, long, long way. I'm hopeful.
Me too.
I am hopeful. Especially, we have many trainings. This is I can't even see any of you right now because I'm with my screen shared. But I feel like I'm literally in a room with you all because of the feedback that you're giving. This is probably one of my better virtual trainings because you all are just being so open with your experiences. And I'm hopeful because hearing the voices of mothers and grandmothers being so strong and so like powerful, like, no, my children will be happy. that speaks volume to me. And thank you all so much. We're not even done with the training, but I wanted to just really thank you all for sharing and being a part of it. I do
So
want to go.
Heather,
Oh, go ahead.
Heather, I have a suggestion because I have a friend that I go out with that he has the situation all the time. Um, he's not transgender. She's a female, but she dresses basically like a male. She feels like a female. She identifies as a female, but she dresses a lot like a male. So lots of times when she goes to the restroom, people will say, excuse me, you're in the wrong bathroom. So what we've decided to do is when we go to places like that, we go together.
Yeah.
So it shuts that down.
They'll assume
And I
right.
actually got her a t-shirt that says, yes, I am in the right restroom. And so lots of times now when we go out, that's how we broke that down. And so we have conversations with people standing in line going to the restroom that thinks that she's in the wrong restroom. And I think that it's helped because it's opened a lot of eyes of people that are just standing around with the same feeling as the other people that think she's in the wrong restroom, to understand that visually, you can't look at people visually and think that that is who they are. It's like that's what I took away from the video that you just showed. Looking at a lot of the people in the video, you could guess or make your own conclusion as to their sexual identity, but you really don't know. And so just taking people for who they are, not what they look like or how they present, is usually the first step in trying to get things better for everybody. You get to understand them, and then they start to realize that they can be who they are. So just wanted to throw that out there. And Heather, maybe that's a suggestion for your kids. Maybe go to the bathroom together so that they don't feel uncomfortable, make like a little group pack until things get to the point where they can go into whatever bathroom they want. Maybe the school can create a gender neutral restroom so that people that, the kids that feel like they don't care who goes into their restroom are able to do that and feel safe about it. And thank you for this presentation. I have enjoyed it.
No problem. My pleasure. Last night I went to a birthday dinner in over here in Channelside, and it was the first time, I don't even know the restaurant. It was the first time I've ever seen a gender neutral restroom outside of my LGBTQ plus bubble. So I mean it's happening certain places, but we have to be patient and try to educate as much as we possibly can. Now, um, here are some things that we've put together, that what we shouldn't say, what we should stay away from saying. The last one is what really resonates with me, because a lot of times if people have come to me and said, "Do you get misgendered? You look passable. You look this." Yes, but when somebody figures out that I am trans, right? They always hit me with this: "You look like a real woman." Instead of saying you look like a real woman, just say you look great. It's shorter to say, it's easier, it's faster. You'll be done quicker. We can have lunch or something. But you definitely don't want to say you look like a real woman or a real man. You want to stay away from that. In church, I get a lot. I respect your lifestyle choices. You can just simply say, I respect LGBTQ plus people. And so, of course, I know many people have heard this one. You can't even tell you're gay. You can just let me know I'm a really awesome person, and that's it. Um, the ed and the ers is not, for me. When I hear those different, when I hear the transgendered, or they're transgendered, I feel like I'm like ill, or I'm you know, like a germ or something. I feel, or the transgenders. It takes me back to segregation or something like that, where you have the blacks and the whites. They're the transgenders, and we're the normal people. You want to make sure that you're saying a person who is transgender or a person who is transitioning. You don't want to add the eds and the ers onto transgender. Okay.
Can I
And
ask a quick
also,
question?
Yes, yes.
I was going to add that something else is, and I've been seeing this a lot, is people who are bi being, oh, well, you just haven't chosen, you know, whether you're straight or whether you're gay.
Yeah.
And I've been seeing that in so many different community groups. It's like, how are you going to, you know, not allow people who are bi when it's literally in the LGB part of the name of the
Yeah.
groups? It's been so frustrating to see that.
I hear you. A lot of times, I think we do turn on our own. Like we don't want to save space for people outside of what we know. So I am sorry that has happened to you, and people are invalidating your sexual orientation. It is okay to be bi. It's okay to be pan. It's okay to be whatever you want to be. And please, folks, don't let anybody else minimize that for you. Please don't let people minimize that for you. But you're
Right. My daughter-in-law, my granddaughter has been cutting herself. And she told her mother, you know, she's attracted to girls. And she says, you know, you're 13, you don't know, you know. Well, I don't know what age she should know or she should know. That's not the point. The point is your daughter's cutting herself.
Yes.
You know, that's the point. She's not happy. You know, support her in her decision and let it go at that, because your daughter is hurting herself.
Yes.
And she shouldn't have to hurt herself to tell
To
you
get your
that, you know,
attention.
she needs your support, you know.
That is correct. I think that I mentioned only the I went really light with the depression and the not bathing, and the, you know, constantly sleeping. But yes, you will get into burning and cutting. Young people do different things to get your attention, and if you don't give it to them, still they're gonna it's gonna get even worse. You definitely want to make sure that you are allowing your young folks at home to get therapy. I am a huge advocate for mental health, simply because we work out all the time. We will take care of our physical health every day. We'll try to eat better. We'll try to, you know, work out. But your mental health, we don't sharpen it as much as we need to because you can't see it. So if you have a young person, if you yourself um, are struggling with some different things, even if you're not, it is highly recommended to see a therapist. And you're then at that point you're able to kind of sort out those different feelings and create that space. To one person mentioned that that the child and the therapist sat the mom down and said, "Hi, we got some good news for you." What happened there was the therapist and the child created that safe space to be able to tell the mom their gender identity. That's what needs to happen to allow your children to be happy and healthy in their lives. You got to create that space for them to feel comfortable talking to you. So my heart goes out to anyone who experiences things like that. I highly recommend that person being referred to a therapist as soon as possible. Any other questions or comments or concerns?
Now, my question, I'm a Southern girl as well, and we were taught Mr., Miss out of respect before someone's name. So I just even did it in the comments without even thinking about it. Oh, Miss such, you know, because it's just someone that's older than you or someone that you don't really know. You say Mr. and Miss. So what can we do to kind of train ourselves to not do that naturally, because not everybody's going to be Mr. Miss, and I mean that is an assumption.
Yes, I have a bad habit of saying, "All right, guys," and that's not acceptable either. So what I try to do now is I was like, "All right, folks," okay, everyone. Or if I'm in like a more intimate setting, all right, hey, my friend, could you please do X, Y, and Z? I try to take the gender out of it altogether. And I'll just make it. Oh, wow. Um, 1 second, folks. I'm so sorry. Sophia. I'm in the middle of a training. How do I, can you find out what they want me to do? I'm in the middle of a training. Do they want me to still do this drill? This is like a paid training that if they just say over the income. Find out from you. Folks, I'm sorry. They're having a drill that was scheduled during my wonderful training with you all. I'm gonna try and keep going. If I make a mistake, what do? You don't want to panic. You want to keep the focus on the other person so that you don't draw more attention to your discomfort rather than your apology. But they've paid for a training.
I know, but let me, because it's a fire drill and we have to act as if it was natural fire.
Wow. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
No. Folks, my apologies to you all. I'll stay an extra 10 minutes for you all. I'm so sorry. Anyway, keep the focus on the other person so that you don't draw more attention to your discomfort rather than your apology. Apologize. We're only human after all. Quickly correct yourself and move on. You might feel guilty, but it's important to keep the conversation moving. For this slide, mistakes will happen. So I want you all to understand that you don't have to panic. If you do misgender someone, you want to just keep the focus on that person, apologize, and quickly move on. Or you can even thank the person for correcting you. A lot of times when people will say, "Don't you mean, ma'am?" You know what? Thank you so much, ma'am. My absolute apologies, but I wanted to go ahead and get you settled. I wanted to go ahead and get you signed in. Could you come with me, please? Quickly apologize, quickly correct yourself, and then move on. Okay?
I have a question.
Yes.
What about if they don't acknowledge that you did something wrong? So I had this summer, I was somewhere with my kids, and like from all the way across the room, I saw somebody with really long hair and it was like covering their face.
Okay.
So I said to my daughter, I was like, oh, go over there and talk to her. And then as we got closer, it wasn't like it looked like a boy with long hair. And they didn't say anything, right? And I was just humiliated. And I didn't know what to do. And then she was like, oh, mommy, it's not a girl, it's a boy. And I was like, let's just keep walking. Like, if they don't acknowledge it, like, how can you open that? Because I mean, I made an assumption that wasn't true. And then I just went to terror.
So the person heard you misgender them?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I think in that case, here's the thing too. It's very exhausting to continue to defend yourself or to correct folks or educate people. So sometimes, in that case, maybe the person was just like, oh, well, I'll let it go. But here's the thing. I think if you felt like you needed to apologize or to make the situation better, I think that you could pull them to the side and then let them know, my absolute apologies for misgendering you, and take it that route. I would definitely have a conversation away from other folks. The biggest thing is whenever we apologize in large groups of people, we tend to make it more because now everyone else is tuned in. Everyone else now knows that I've misgendered this person. Everyone is now guessing the gender themselves. It can be a number of things that's happening when we do it in the midst of other people. So I would definitely pull that person to the side if you need to, or even if you're, I don't know what setting it was, but if it's like if you can email them or however you want to address them, you can definitely do it more privately than anything. I like to think about this too when we sometimes sometimes we can be so upset with ourselves and feel so bad that we, one, like you said, we keep walking, or we're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I misgendered you. Could you please forgive me? Just and we go overboard in the apology. Okay, I want us to just think about just really in our minds, understand what that would look like. And so it's just easiest to apologize, correct yourself, and then move on. Any other questions? That is the fastest I've ever seen this slide be like okay, perfect. All right, how do I respond to someone coming out? So earlier in the program, we learned that you would have to be a very special person if someone does come out to you. Um, it may look different for different people, but we should always aim to be empathetic and understanding. So if someone does come out to you, thank them for trusting you. That goes hand in hand with us kind of creating that safe space for folks. Thank them because I mean, they didn't have to choose you to come out to. So thank them for coming out to you. Ask if it's confidential. We don't always think about this one because, we just assume that if you're coming out to me, maybe you came out to everybody, but that's not the case. I may have only come out to you because you're a special person. But if we go in the lobby, if we go into the break room, I may still need you to protect my gender identity. Show interest. So you don't want someone to come out to you and you say, well, what about those bugs? You want to make sure that you are showing interest, genuine interest in that person's coming out, because it takes a lot. And if whenever we don't show interest or don't follow these steps and learn how we can support, we could definitely um, send that person in a downward spiral. When I say downward spiral, I mean the mental health part of things. I mean the cutting. I mean the depression, the burning, different things like that. There's so many ways you can show support. I think I heard someone earlier say they went to the parades with their grandkids or with their children. The parade for me this year was a lot different because I've seen so many different allies. I saw people that were just at the parade in support of, because we've been dealing with the pandemic. So people were at the parades just to show their support. This year, normally, typically in years in the past, I've been with Metro either doing outreach or on the float throwing candy. This year, I was in the parade, but I was representing one of the titles that I had won, one of the pageants I won. I had a crown on, a dress, and I felt very, very feminine, very pretty. But as the car stopped, I threw candy to a family, and it was a white family, and I want to mention that because it's very important to the context of what I'm saying. As I looked down, the mother said to her child, "Look, baby, there's a princess." And for me, being a person of color, being acknowledged as a princess was huge. It almost made me cry. And I held on to that. And that's why I can honestly say I think that I am hopeful for change, because people are seeing things a lot different. People are learning ways to support. That family may not have even realized that was actually support for me. You're in a parade. You're hoping that everything is all together and you're looking fine and you're representing well. But for them to acknowledge me in that way, let me know that I had support from a community of people that I didn't even know. So there's always ways that you can show support. You can show interest. If a person that you know is going to a doctor's appointment, ride with them. Help them set up their telehealth. Help them do the paperwork. I mean, there's so much that you can that you can do to show your support.
Were you in Orlando?
I grew up in Orlando.
I mean, for the parade.
Oh, no, I was in Tampa, in Ybor.
Oh, okay. No, we went to Orlando and it was absolutely awesome. We were there for hours, and some of his friends, my grandson's friends that came down with him, they were like, okay, we've seen this, let's go. And it's like, no, this thing just started. You want to go. We got separate cars, but we're staying because this is not about you today. This is my grandson's day.
Absolutely.
We stayed through the whole thing and just had an absolute blast.
And too, so we may see, we may only focus on the actual parade, but if you really get involved, there could be vendors there. There could be so much information at these parades that if you only just take a moment to kind of look around and kind of enjoy, the surroundings, it could be very beneficial, and you'll get so much information out of it.
He got to take things home to his friends that they're probably never going to get an opportunity to do. And we took hundreds and hundreds of pictures that we got to upload and send up that he got to share. And for a little gay boy out of Kentucky, it was just absolutely phenomenal. I'll never forget it ever.
Wow. I love that, y'all. Like, I can't explain the difference when a family is supportive of their children, the difference that it makes as an adult. I'll leave it there. But if you are able to support your children during those years of them growing and learning who they are, it will make them a really different person, as they are an adult. They'll be more compassionate. They'll be more open. They'll be more authentic. They'll be more true to who they are. It really makes a huge difference. So that support that you're showing is phenomenal. We do have I like the first two. So let's see. Just tell me what, I'll read it out loud twice, and then you can tell me what you feel like could be done in this situation. So your coworker Alicia came out as lesbian to you, and your coworker Demarius. Demarius has been making jokes about it in front of other employees. It is clear that Alicia is becoming more and more uncomfortable. How do you respond? All right, I'll read it one more time. Your coworker Alicia came out to you as lesbian. You and your coworker Demarius. Demarius has been making jokes about it in front of other employees. It is clear that Alicia is becoming more and more uncomfortable. How do you respond?
I would probably pull Demarius to the side and talk to him or them. And then I would probably do the same thing with Alicia to let her know that I was supporting her.
Absolutely, because also too, Alicia may get to a point where they're like, oh my gosh, please don't do it in front of me. Like, don't confront them in front of me. It could be very uncomfortable for Alicia as well. But definitely pull Demarius to the side. Definitely check in with Alicia to see how they're feeling. Also keep in mind that we're at work, right? This is a coworker. So whenever you have work, guess what's next? HR. Not all the time do you go straight to HR, but if you've spoken to Demarius and he continues, then I would definitely go to HR. I think that yeah, even we all are adults in our workspaces, and if someone brings something to your attention and you have a choice to correct it and you don't, then I think you definitely need a trip to HR. Anybody else on the first scenario? All right, we'll go to our second one. A guest arrives and orders a beverage. You hand them their order and say, "Here's your drink, sir." The guest becomes irate and shouts, "You mean ma'am?" Other guests in the building begin to tune in to see what's going on. What can you do to course correct the situation? As you can see, I like acting. I try to. A guest arrives and orders a beverage. You hand them their order and say, "Here's your drink, sir." The guest becomes irate and shouts, "You mean ma'am?" Other guests in the building begin to tune in to see what's going on. What can you do to course correct the situation?
For me, I would definitely make my apology heard. I would stand corrected. Maybe even probably maybe have a joke to embarrass myself or remove the attention off of her, and definitely see if I can accommodate a meal or something of that sort, because I'm well aware of the issues at hand.
Absolutely.
Maybe sing her a song.
And you went a step further. Like you giving out the free fries. Like you, okay, ma'am, here's your drink, and not only here's your drink, here's a fry as well, maybe a
Right.
burger or two. But
Right.
uh, the bottom line is, I'm gonna go back to that too. The bottom line is, we want to make sure that we are sincere in our apologies and move on. Making a joke, about yourself is fine if you're able to do that seamlessly. You know what I mean? Like if you can do that and it's gonna be good, I'm all for it. The good thing is you knew that you had made a mistake and it was like, okay, you know what, let me make this right. It's not even about the extras. All you want to do is make sure you apologize, correct yourself, and move on, and make sure that your tone, your body language, and everything matches. I can't tell you how many apologies I've gotten, or how many apologies I've gotten, but the body language was off. I was like, I'm sorry, ma'am. No, you didn't. No, that wasn't that wasn't an apology. I didn't feel it. You didn't feel it. Let's try that one more time, or I'm gonna ruin your day and talk to your manager. So I hear you, and I think that you having the heart to just say, you know what, let me correct myself. Let me make a joke. Let me turn it back on me. Let me give you some free stuff. All that works. But if you don't have the opportunity to give out a free fry or a free burger or anything, you want to make sure that you're able to be sincere with your apology, correct yourself, and move on. Okay? I don't like scenario 3. Um, well, if I have one brave person, I'll see what your response is. A new hire named Aiden has joined your team, and you notice that they are wearing a pin that says they them on it. You haven't had a chance to introduce yourself, but you are starting to think that they are non-binary. How might you proceed?
What does it matter if they're non?
Thank God.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can go. I would say, hi, Adrienne. My name's Heather.
Hi, Aiden.
Right. Who cares?
Yep, me too.
Yes. Thank you.
Like, hi,
Welcome
Aiden.
to
How
the
are you?
team.
Welcome to the team, yo.
Right.
You get it. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The worst thing is some people trying to just make sense of it. No, it does not matter. And thank you. You all got it right on. Thank you. All right. So there are steps to becoming inclusive. This is one of our last slides. This part of it is the last portion, but we have text that go along with it, but I want to break it down in a way that I felt has been most helpful from me in explaining it. So there are steps to becoming the most inclusive that we can be. So as you can see, it is almost like steps. So I love that. When we tolerate folks, we do no harm through our actions or words. We're just in school, we're just at work, we're just in passing. But when we begin to accept people, it would sound something like, I know a black trans woman over at Metro that can help you. She's good. She'll help you get tested. She'll help you with all your trans needs and healthcare stuff. So she's good. Now, when you celebrate me, you're almost like, I know an amazing black trans woman over at Metro. She can help you get tested. She can get your HRT care. She's phenomenal at her job, right? But then when you really advocate for me, I know Kyla over at Metro, and she can help you get all your services that you need. Please give her a call. She's phenomenal. All those other adjectives, those black and trans, and that does not matter. You know Kyla, you're I can do my job and I'm here to help. So I think that overall, y'all, we talk a lot about respect. And I think that's what it boils down to. When you really and truly advocate for a person, you don't focus on those different things. You know the person, you know what they're capable of doing, and you refer as you need to. Um, I absolutely love doing these trainings because as a trans person, if I don't speak up, you won't get the understanding that you might need. I was not intending on being an advocate of any sort. I just wanted a job. But when you're the only trans person in the space, what do? You use your voice, you speak up, and you advocate. So I want to open the floor for any questions, any comments, any concerns, any short stories, anything to help us kind of sum everything up.
I just want to say thank you. This training has been a great, it's been great way to start a Friday, right?
Right.
But great all around. I feel like you know, me personally, I think that I knew most of the stuff that was covered today, but to the level that you explained it, I just really appreciate taking the time and using your voice for this purpose.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I was gonna say the same thing. I was like, I think you did a great job at breaking it down, and it's and you broke it down into like chunk sized pieces, so we have things to take away that we can use in our day-to-day lives. I did want to also mention in the comments, there was someone who said earlier, I didn't want it to get lost about transracial. And I didn't know, and for me personally, I mean, it's two separate things, but for me personally, I think it still goes back to that conversation that we're having, that just accept people as they are. Let's not get caught up in the titles that they use and how they want to be addressed.
Uh-huh.
But so the question was, how do we deal with a client who identifies as transracial? And it was by Ronald.
I think with any identity, and honestly, and because I'm honest, I don't know, I haven't heard that term used. But what it sounds like is maybe they identify as a different race. Is that what
Yes.
they're saying?
Yeah, I believe that's what it's similar to Rachel. What's her? I can't remember her last name, but she she identifies as a Black woman, but she
Okay.
is really she was born a white woman.
Okay.
I don't know.
And I we all will have our own stuff. Okay, let's say that we all will have our own stuff, but if someone is identifying as transracial, allow them the space to identify how they want to identify. I'm a big advocate for those, for people to feel how they want to feel. We all may have our own thoughts about different things, about anything really, but if you can create a space for a person to just feel safe and welcomed, then please do that.
That's
If
what I
you
was going to say earlier. Sometimes, like when a lot of this, the transgenders and different things started becoming more open, I would think, I don't understand, but it's not for me to understand. It's for me to accept
Yeah.
and to embrace those changes and just ensure that a person's respected, because it's not about it, understanding or analyzing or breaking it apart as to why. It's about how do you make that person feel comfortable and allowing them to live their life as the best possible life that they can live.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would right away. And we have nowadays they have the TikTok and everything. So I have seen what you're referring to as far as folks that are transracial. But for me, it's just because I know what I've gone through with being trans. I would definitely just create space for that person to feel comfortable in their own skin, whatever that might be. I
Whatever.
think we already have so many other things, on our shoulders, to where if I can just help you to relax for 30 minutes while you're in my space, fine, I'm here. I don't have to pick apart your identity. I'm not gonna do some kind of like a test to find out your heritage or your ancestors. So I don't know what you identify as anyway. I don't know what your race is anyway. So I would just say that if we could just create space for that person as well. Were there any other comments in the chat that we weren't able to address?
No, I think that was the only one that came up that wasn't addressed. And when I was going to say with that one, I think also educating yourself on these topics, like with race, that's a fairly new concept anyway. It's a construct that was created to separate. So, I mean, really, at the end of the day, if you understand that, you understand that we're really all just a human race. And so what people want to identify as and who they want to be, you know, it's better, it's easier to accept it when you understand that we're all just human beings having a human experience.
Right.
I have one question. If we are working with one of our clients that's within this population, is there any good resources that we can share with them or link them to that you're aware of?
Sure.
I have some that I distribute out, so I can share that with you because
that'd be great.
I've worked with several for placement.
Very good. Also too, I'm gonna put my email here in the chat. If you all need to actually, oh no, it's not there. I'll put my email here. You all have me from even past Metro. You all have me as a personal like I don't know, I don't want to say consultant, but we're now community partners to where you can give me a call or an email if you need to in reference to anything that you might need help with. So please use me. Use me as you need to, metrotampabay.org. All right, so there's my email address, my phone number here at Metro if you need to ever give me a call.
So everybody, it's Avery and I'm back. And I wanted you all to know that even though this is an annual training, this is not where we end as a continuum of care for homelessness. We have contracted with Metro and they're going to come in and work with your diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. And we're going to do a needs assessment in regards to the continuum of care's policies and procedures. And what do we need to do to be more inclusive as a continuum? And they're going to help and guide us through this new process. So I am thrilled that today is actually a beginning. And I cannot believe all of you are here. This has been the largest training we've ever had for the continuum of care. So I congratulate each and every one of you for being here on a Friday and for sharing. Oh my gosh. Thank you all for being so courageous and sharing your stories and your gifts with us today.
I agree. I second that. I am here, and thank you all so much. Honestly, Avery, this has been absolutely amazing. I completely second that. The way that you all shared today, it allowed me to feel like you all were right in the room with me. And I look forward to anything I can do to assist in the future. You have my contact information. Please use me as a resource in any way possible. If I don't know, I'm going to tell you, but then we'll find an answer together. So thank you all. If there's no more questions for me, then you all have a wonderful Friday. I'll wait a few more moments. I'll wait here in the chat just until the last person leaves, and you all let me know how I can help. Thank you, thank you, thank you.